Hello, friends. My name is John Clan III, and this is Shadow and Flame of Magic, your premier Kitty Pryde Lockheed and Magic podcast. And this is episode 213. We're going to deep dive into West Coast Avengers 44, Volume 244, and then do reviews for X-Men Volume 724, Rogue One, Spider-Man Wolverine 8, Inglorious X-Men 1, Psylocke Ninja 1, New Avengers Volume 5, 8, and then X-Men of Apocalypse 2. So, this is West Coast Avengers Volume 244. We're moving it up the list as Wonder Man's set to premiere next weekend. So, this comic came out in May 1989. Great movie year, 89. The first, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton Batman movie. Little Mermaid came out. Um, I feel like there's a third movie that was like also, I mean, it's just a great movie year. This is written and penciled dramatically by John Byrne, inked enthusiastically by Mike Mocklin, lettered color calligraphically by Bill Oakley, colored multichromatically by Paul Beckton, edited diplomatically by Howard Mackey. So that's cool to see that he was an editor before being a legendary Spider-Man writer. And observed enigmatically by Tom DeFalco, also a pretty famous Spider-Man writer. The issue opens up with the Vision completely disassembled. Once it was a fate. Oh, this is West Coast Avengers Better a Widow. Um, and this is part of the Vision Quest continues subplot. A face that spoke and smiled and sometimes laughed, once even shed a happy tear. Once these eyes looked out into the world, gentle compassion and sometimes cold, still rage. He was called the Vision. He is no longer aware of that. He is no longer aware of anything. As we see, Wanda is just standing in front of her deconstructed husband. Least of all, the identity of the woman who is his wife. And so he's just upset with everyone. The government wanted to shut down Vision, and they have. The team right now is Wonder Man, Mockingbird, Hawkeye, and Hank Pym. Oh, and Tigra. Um, oh, we're doing issue 44 because I am turning 44 on the 31st. So that's why we're doing this. And coincidentally, got some Wonder Man comics out of this. So that's why we're doing all of that. The thumbs are. And then we catch up with a subplot where Hawkeye is looking for Tigra, and she's a little pharaoh at the moment. And you can follow along on my YouTube and TikTok channels, JackalsIII, where I have me just narrating the comic to you with purely the visuals. And then on Sunday, I'm going to post the pure page of why we're even reading that, but we're not there yet. Oh, actually, we're there now. There's an ad here for Pride of the X-Men, narrated by Stan Lee, but then we get this amazing page that here we go. And look south and east to the campus of Absolom College near Saunders, Texas. And there's a group of government types. And they're like, very well, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin, shall we? If we are to proceed beyond this point, you must finalize our selection of a suitable subject. We've compiled a list of other prospects. Number one, each of these has the desired attributes, although I would vote no on this one. So they're voting on Archangel as a no. Apocalypse is too powerful. Avalanche is a no. Arcade is too weak. Beast is too unstable. Fred Dukes is a no. Caliban's a no. Callisto's a no. Cannonball's a no. Black Tom is too weak. Cloak is too unstable. Colossus is dead. Cyclops is a no. Doug Ramsey's dead. Cloak Friend Dagger is too unstable. Dazzler's dead. Destiny is a no. Firestar is a no. And I'm realizing now this is in alphabetical order of the pictures, so that's fun. Firestar's a no. Forge is a no. Havoc is dead. Iceman's a no. Who will be between I and M? This lady's a no. She has red hair. Maybe Legion is too unstable. Oh yeah, he's too unstable. Multiple man's a no, and then we get Ileana Rasputina. Um, to reverse order right here. And she is no longer viable, so she missed out on her opportunity there. Um, I'm not sure this golden gal could be between Magic and Magneto. It's Magma. Magma's a no. Magneto's too powerful. Polaris is a no. Um, Nectra's horrible male counterpart's a no. Not Manape. Manigold? Firestar, no. Jean Grey's a no. Mastermind's a no. Mesmero's a no. Mystique's a no. Necra is a no. Nightcrawler's a no. Rachel Summers is too powerful. Pyro's a no. Quicksilver is too unstable. Rogue is dead. I don't know who this is. Sabra, maybe? Is unverified, and Sabretooth is unverified. And then they get to a yes. And they show us Scarlet Witch, which is weird as she's already on the team. Back in LA 1 hour later, and we see Hank Pym arguing with more of the scientists. Around the mutant form of the Scarlet Witch, reality itself begins to shift and flow. And to calculate the odds against every bit of building material in a structure, every board and nail, every beam and rivet, every pane of glass, every hinge, staple, spot of glue, all reaching their point of maximum fatigue at precisely the same moment. To calculate the odds against this would require the manipulation of numbers so huge there's not even a computer on Earth up to the task. Probably is now. Wanda does not know this. Her knowledge of science has been but little enhanced since the villainous Magneto brought her out of her Bakken home. She knows only that she wishes this terrible place expunged, dead, and the building dies. Pretty cool splash page. Thus, less than 10 minutes later, newly installed holographic imaging devices turn off automatically as they approach the Avengers Quinjet, revealing the cliff face hangar door. Um, and then Wanda leaves. For far outstripping the others, beautiful Scarlet Witch races through the connecting tunnels beneath the Avengers West Coast compound, propelled by images so horrible only a mother could comprehend them. 53 seconds later, after first seeing the alarm light, Wanda emerges in the guest house because she's worried about her babies. And Ellen tells her children are missing, and then she runs into the bathroom, and Tommy and Billy are just taking a bath together. She she was worried, so she's calling them Thomas and Willem, so that's just fun. And then 2 days later, outside the Avengers Med Lab, Scarlet Witch has taken off her cape, and so you just see that her outfit is essentially a big, not big, but a one-piece bathing suit with a pink unitard underneath it. So her cape's really doing a lot of for her. And Wonder Man's trying to console her, which is gross. And then in a cool moment, he goes to check on Vision, and Vision just puts his face through Wonder Man's head, which I gotta admit, this cover, I always forget this is Vision on the cover of it. And then we see what Wanda got treated to nightly, and maybe sometimes in the morning. as it just visions cybernetic body. The word trembles and nearly dies in her throat. The Scarlet Witch requires no answer to have her dread confirmation. This is her husband. The only trace of emotion on the symphozoid's fleshless face is a skull's grin, even when he strikes. I guess he is the grandson of Hank Pym, so we get mistreated to this panel of a backhand, which I don't love. Unable to believe the bizarre behavior of the being she calls her husband, Wanda did not properly protect herself. She lies stunned by the impact of the cold steel floor, and if sensing her helplessness, the Vision moves forward for the kill. Then Wonder Man tries to tackle him from behind. He gets thrown over his back. Powerful as Wonder Man is, he hesitates to use his strength against one whose shared mind patterns once made him very much a brother. Which is where I've always found an issue with Wonder Man trying to get with Wanda, where it's like Vision's his own personality. Like he might have started with Wonder Man, but he improved on the model. Meanwhile, directly above the med lab, the living room of the mansion, Hawkeye hears some rumbling and decides to try to help out. 40 seconds later, he shoots a constrictor arrow in the Vision, proving why he will always be Hawkeye in a fight. Just rips apart the wires. But with the faint whir of servo motors, usually muted by a layer of artificial flesh, and he just tosses Hawkeye around. Trembling eyes filled with hot tears, the Scarlet Witch raises a hand, but she can't fight her husband. Okay, the quote of the bullpen bulletin. The quote is, "Hey, wait a minute! I just remembered this circus doesn't have any gorillas. Bruno the Strongman and She-Hulk #1." What comics came out of this time? West Coast Avengers 44, check. Excalibur 8, great issue. She-Hulk 1, naturally. Web of Spider-Man 50. Amazing Spider-Man 315. New Mutants 75. Marvel Comics Presents 19. Alpha Flight 70. Wolverine 7. Uh, Damage Control 1. Uncanny X-Men 244. X Factor 40. Marvel Comics Presents 20. Classic X-Men 33. Power Pack 46. And Conan O'Brien, or not Conan O'Brien, Conan the Barbarian had many books out at this time. Hank Pym shows up. He tries to calm things down. And did they name this guy? Oh yeah, Surowski, government stooge. Um, Marvel fandom said this was his first appearance, but then in brackets it said that he's actually a space phantom, as revealed in Avengers Forever. So I guess still first appearance, but not the actual guy. And so they're sending a recruit. They can do whatever they want with the Vision because he's been reprogrammed, so they can just do whatever they want because he's not going to be the Vision anymore. But they've sent a new team member, and it is John Walker himself, the U.S. agent. So he's going to cause some diversity. And next issue, new faces. But we will not be doing that, as I believe this is the only West Coast Avenger title I had. And that, everyone, was West Coast Avengers Volume 244. Like Wolverine, Volume 1 was 4 issues and then was a huge hit. And so they um made a proper second volume that went on for years and years. All right, everyone. So this week's comics, spoilers for all these comics. We're going to start with X-Men Volume 724. I do love a villain issue. We see that 3K's alliance is on a very shaky ground. Chairman Beast of Krakoa has been gone a week, giving Cassandra Nova and Astra with Joseph time to plot the other's death. Cassandra Nova has her own pixie, Myrid, um, which I completely forgot that Myrid's actually the the mutant we had the bulk of the run in where she can change her flesh into she pretty much has Cassandra Nova's origins where she was a twin, but then she became like a ghost and wasn't born when her sister was born, and so they just thought they lost a twin, but actually she was just about and she had merge of her sister, so she's that character. Wire and his X-Men just want to see who wants leadership more. Cassandra Nova puts the leadership to a vote. Joseph dons his helmet, but Myrid takes off the helmet, and Cassandra Nova is on the verge of winning when Beast shows up. He's in full Beast mode, but all white to match his Age of Revelation body. He was in a synthetic body, which I still feel like wasn't fair for the home audience's guessing game. He reveals the plot of Age of Revelation. You get one splash page of the event, so if anyone's interested, they can check out Amazing X-Men Volume 3 for Cyclops' journey, The Last Wolverine for Logan Death, and Laura Kinney Sabretooth for her adventure. We get this page, and earlier we get a few panels of him and Animoya. They are going to use a virus to turn all humans into mutants, succeeding where Doug got the job mostly done. Beast also knows one other thing that Schwarzschild will eventually join Cyclops, so he has Wire's X-Men kill him, and they don't even hesitate, so we have successfully splintered from the AOR future. Issue ends with us seeing their base, which is a good-looking flying saucer above a nice mountain range. Are they near Alaska? No magic, but I'm getting the Clayton Crane variant cover, so this issue is a keeper. It also feels like a big step in the direction the series is going in. Maybe not the franchises. I don't see the X-Men United dealing with this, but maybe they have Armageddon to hopefully dodge and wherever the 2026 comic giveaway issue is. Such a silly name. Yeah, Rogue One, of her fourth volume. This was a fun comic. I got excited to see Death Dream and Ransom as I thought we were going to get Cal Litter and Ember, but we don't. I was also surprised to see this was a present day scenes as I thought this might be a retro series. Issue opens with them fighting a giant mutant possum. Rogue loves Gambit, but sometimes he needs a kick in the arse. The giant mutant possum is destroying the Louisiana airport. The building is going to fall on some people. Rogue recognizes a guy in a wheelchair who doesn't have anything below his knees. She isn't sure where she has seen him before. Rogue mentions how she has her invulnerability swipe from Wonder Man. Is that right? She's been keeping that power since her original Uncanny Avengers days then. We get a campfire scene, and I immediately have to look at the credits for the comic. Eric Schultz is writing such a good issue. Luigi Zagaria is a terrific artist. Aspen Gun-Itchern is the colorist, and I can only imagine is making Matthew Wilson proud as this felt like a spin-off of Uncanny X-Men, which it is. VC's Ariana Maurer is a great as the letter, as always. At the campfire, we do get a questionable narration boxes that I keep reading to try to make sense of it. And so Rogue's narrating, Death Dream Horoto is healing, or at least how he heals. I'm making a rookie mistake going off with the fairies like that. We're trying to train these newbies, but we gotta be careful. They don't know their own limits. I made a rookie mistake going off with these fairies like that. Fairies? What an interesting choice of words. Is that using the South in a positive way? I imagine she means they are very young and fresh, but I feel like that's a very loaded word choice. Rogue is having nightmares from her Brotherhood days, but these are an unseen Brotherhood days as both Sabretooth and Constrictors there. That team has already been boy heavy as it is and doesn't need two more added to it. Though Sabretooth and Destiny on the same team as Mystique is very interesting. Rogue wakes up and has matured a bit and doesn't take the entire comforter to wrap around her, but has bought a robe, so that's progress. Rogue needs answers and seeks out her mom's. I like the continuity with Mystique isn't better. She still looks like she did at the end of Mystique Volume 2, Issue 5. Shame this is the first time Rogue has seen her this way, as I would have thought she would have seen her in the meantime. Mystique doesn't want to discuss Project Pegasus, which makes sense as no one does, but we'll get more of that next issue. which I thought this was a great issue. I'm just not on board for a Sabretooth story. And from what we've seen, it looks like it's going to be a traditional Sabretooth story. Spider-Man Wolverine 9. We get a pretty good fight between Aeronix and Wolverine. Spider-Man realizes other Reed wouldn't have used a gun as a solution, discovers the bullet was anti-webbing or close to it. Aeronix is made up of webbing, so Peter fixes the formula. Other Reed was close and shoots Aeronix, stabilizing him. I think that's how you pronounce the villain's name. He's a mixture of Spider-Man and Wolverine. I like the quick moment from Logan when he thinks Peter had killed the guy, but he helped him. Other Doom is fun, but this one is all arrogance and dismisses locking Aronix away, which is an odd choice as hasn't he been murdering every hero that was thrown at him? So Aronix kills Doom. Meanwhile, Peter gets him to Earth 616, but in Canada, as Peter is a hopeless romantic and wants Logan and Mariko back together, or at least on talking terms. Ananex retraces their steps and is on his way to Earth 616 to conclude this arc, which wasn't too bad of a comic. And as soon as they mentioned Mariko, I wanted to see that conversation. So I'm going to get that what I want, hopefully. Inglorious X-Force 1. I'm not usually an X-Force type of guy. Usually none of my favorite characters make the team. Sometimes they show up to lend commentary or teleport the team somewhere else. Cable arrives in the present with a mission to save the future first mutant president. I immediately think we're making a President Dazzler reference, and I'm all on board for this team. Cable arrives, but in a very rough shape and has Swiss cheese memory. He has left himself a note to recruit Archangel, Wolverine, Boom Boom, who I always think of as Meltdown, just to date myself. Worthington Industries, Warren is having to deal with the board of directors. I love so much thinking about how frustrated they must have been with Warren since forever. Maybe once he was a blank slate and they could run the business they wanted to, in a professional manner. They reference X Corp and X Factor and how Warren keeps embarrassing them. Stock is low, but what does Worthington Industries even produce? I had a fun little Blue Sky interaction. Tim Seeley, the author, and he was like, they make Angel action figures. And I was like, well, then they need to be producing an Angel animated series to push those toys. So that was just fun. Cable talks to Warren later, and Warren comments on how they don't have much history together. I mean, Warren was around for baby Nathan, and then they were on different X-Force squads, so it does make sense. I immediately racked my brain for any other memorable times together, and I'm pretty sure they don't have much history together. I always do appreciate new X pairings. Cable recruits Wolverine, who doesn't have a solo title, so he has free time for this. Cable recruits Tabitha, who I really appreciate being on this team, as I'm not much of a gritty, high violence titles. That's just not my thing. She's bored, classic Boom Boom, and doesn't even need to pack a bag. She knows Cable has whatever she needs at his base. I do appreciate this is a reunion title and not a retro mini. I'd rather stories be set in the now with flashbacks to the old. It just feels current. Unless, of course, they were getting a retro Kitty Pryde, Lockheed, and Magic series, and I'm all on board, variant covers and all. The three villains of the issue, Unveil, Speedburn, and Depop, seem interesting. Not too interesting, where we'll miss them once they're brutally killed, but interesting enough to be subjects of plots. They are attacking Miss Marvel, who I really like. Inglorious X-Force arrives to help her out. Miss Marvel is to me is so me with this team. Heroes can kick, punch, and chop, but they shouldn't be stabbing everyone with flaming swords or claws. X-Force isn't really a team meant to inspire. They are the creepers of the dark, sometimes as nutty as their foes. They use force, but not the force. Miss Marvel recognizes Cable and X-Force. Neither is really her scene. Cable reveals Miss Marvel's future. She will be the first mutant president, so Dazzler truly can't have anything. I am very reminded that Kitty Pryde's also meant to be a future president as well, but it that hasn't been felt like we've been moving in that direction for some time. Kitty's tired, so I get that. I do like the idea that Miss Marvel, being a late teenager, is already looking forward to the 4 to 8 years of not crime fighting. She'll help the team out, but isn't willing to join full time. I like how in the fight Warren wasn't using kill blades but paralyzing darts, which I can only imagine still hurt like crazy. Issue ends with Domino having Cable in her crosshairs. I like how she was looking at Leg Party and housekeeping magazines. Oh, Domino, you are the best. I'm not sure if she's joining the team, but I would like another lady or two on this team. This is one of the reasons why I wasn't into the second volume of Weapon X-Men, as it was all dudes. Psylocke Ninja 1. If we must do a Betsy and Cannon body story, then it has to be a truly great one to justify not giving us a Canon miniseries. I guess this falls under this is the first story of Betsy and Cannon's body, so it's worth telling. Or having you always wanted to see Betsy and Cannon's body fighting Elektra or teaming up with her story. I like seeing the Outback X-Men. There's a panel that if you look at it very closely, it looks like Betsy's kissing Dazzler, but she's hugging Dazzler, and then the next panel she's kissing Alex. Not a bad story, but I'd rather be reading Cannon fighting or teaming up with Elektra. That sounds pretty cool. New Avengers Volume 5 8. I could go for an entire series of Black Widow and Bucky being together. I'm sure those are out there and I should seek them out. Beast, the Alaskan one, shows up as part of a non-Illuminati. The new Avengers get to a base and Wolverine's there. She sniffs that the bad guys haven't been here in hours. She also reminds Bucky that she's there to watch his back, and she distrusts Natasha. Issue ends with Bad Beast about to attack them. Oh, and Eddie Brock Carnage might be fighting the heroes soon, maybe. I like him in his suit and hat. Tom Lena and Rain Bernardo make for such a terrific art team this issue. Um, Now, last book, X-Men of Apocalypse 2. This ragtag team of X-Men from the Age of Apocalypse are fighting the '05 X-Men on the very day the boys meet Jean Grey. We do not get a scene of Bobby being disinterested in her, so this is clearly not canon. They fight, fight, fight. Xavier confronts AOA Forge. Nate Gray talks to Jean, which is always a mistake, as this gives her a chance to read his mind and learn about her future or her alt future. They're looking for the shards of the Imkron crystal. The Dark Phoenix splits the team up into two groups. Issue ends with Forge, Blink, Morph, and Wildchild in the snowy side of the Savage Land, and AOA Gambit, of course, being the topical side of the Savage Land with Rogue and Magneto. Ruh-roh. I like Angel calling Blink Pinky and her calling him Featherhead. Like, that's just silly. Next week's a lighter week. We have Iron Man 1 with Carmen Carnero on art, so I'm excited to see what that looks like at least. Miles Morales Spider-Man 42, which is dealing with whatever he has going on currently, but also those Ultimate Universe boxes. Sorcerer Supreme 2, which I imagine is going to end with a Madeline Pryor appearance. Strange Tales 4, which I'm just checking out to see what cameos are there. The N2992, which does have like a Jean and Cyclops from the Paul Smith era and Age of Apocalypse Logan or Weapon X. And then Marvel Zombies Red Band 5, which is also a cameo book. And then my top 10 X-Men comics of 2026 thus far is Avengers Volume 9 34 with Kitty Pryde, Wolverine Volume 8 14, Uncanny X-Men V Volume 8 22, no, Volume 6 22, Rogue One, X-Men Volume 4 24, Volume 7 24, Ultimate X-Men 23, and number 7, Ultimate Wolverine 13, 8, Side Dimensional Rivals 1, 9, Spider-Man Wolverine 8, and rounding out the list, Inglorious X-Force number 1. So years early, we're probably going to be moving up the list like crazy. And the solicitations came out for April. So we got Spider-Man and Superman, which we're beginning the Carne Andrews and Eric Larson covers, unless there's an X-Men cover or just a cover of any mutant on it. I'll settle for. I'll be getting Ultimate Wolverine 16, at least the regular cover, maybe the Hana cover as well. There's a lot of books in April I want, so I might be having to not get as many as I want. Ultimate Endgame 5, one of the variant covers. Ultimate Universe Finale 1, also one of the variant covers. X-Men United 2, the regular cover for sure. And then I'll check for any other Kitty Pryde covers. Magic and Colossus 3, the regular cover will be fine, but look for any variants that don't have Colossus on it. Moonstar 2, any of the variant covers. X-Men 28, uh, hopefully one of the variant covers. Uncanny X-Men 26, the regular cover for sure that has someone in the classic training uniform. And then Deadpool April Fool's Day one, probably have to pass on this one as I'm looking at 10 comics already and possibly a few more. I know DCBS gives a discount with more comics and the shipping goes down, I believe, maybe. But Gail Simone's writing it and it promises to have lots of guest stars, so we'll see who shows up. But everyone, that was episode 213 of Shadow and Flame of Magic. Thank you so much for listening or watching if you're one of our YouTube friends. And you can follow me on the socials at JackalsIII on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And the podcast is socials at S&FwM on Instagram and Blue Sky, which I'll be posting the West Coast Avengers materials. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.